Hello, hello. Welcome to chapter 1137 of One Piece. We are starting with Yamato investigating the sketchy hideout. This might be holdouts of Kaido's forces in Wano. Who knows what they're up to? Um, I gotta say, I'm a little thrown. A friend of mine who I know is also caught up with One Piece and presumably just read this week's chapter just messaged me and said GG. What could this mean? I can only hope that it means something. We were talking pretty extensively last week about like what I thought would happen in Elbaf, my theories for this whole arc. I can't remember what I said exactly. Probably a lot of stuff that I said in videos as well. But I'm guessing that it means something I said has come to pass because I am the most brilliant One Piece predictor on the web. I don't know. I honestly think we should just plunge in. I could spend a long time kind of speculating on stuff, but I want to get to it, you know? Okay, so Roto was taking them to the castle because I think this is where the keys to Loki's cuffs and chains and everything are. Okay. They discover that the weird government people warped in. Shanks's brother is my read. Maybe that's what I was right about. And other person whose name I forget that attacks with arrows. This has been discovered finally. Luffy is, I think, totally lost the plot on like what he's doing or why. He's just excited to see Shanks. All he's got going in his head is that all of this is going to lead to seeing Shanks eventually. Nobody's been in here since the king died. Roto freaking out. Can't even see the ceiling of the castle. That's awesome. Inside the castle. Nami just like completely flagrantly, shamelessly taking advantage of him. Ultra rare Nami. This is kind of interesting too because it's like Nami makes a great point. Even though they're all very strong now, Nami herself is very strong now. But in the world of giants, there's like another thing working against them, which is just the scale of everything. Even if you can run super fast or something, it's like still a significant effort just to traverse normal giant areas on your own. This is like kilometers and kilometers just to get through one room of the castle. Whoa, it's so cool. This is another very kind of iconic setting, I think. This just sort of ancient medieval castle, primordial castle. Uh, King Harold passed after a vicious battle with Loki, which you see are scars of that fight. Loki's a monster, to be sure, but King Harold is also a great warrior on his own. Destruction is inevitable. Alright, here's what I gotta ask, though. I mean, I guess they maybe had trees and stuff like this growing all over the castle anyways. But it's like, there's no way in 14 years trees would grow like that. Like that big and that thick. I don't know. Actually, what am I saying? It's Elbaf. It's giant country. Who knows what the hell goes on? Trees can maybe grow hyper fast. Who knows? Okay. What is this? It's horrifying. Like a giant graveyard. Whoa. Damn, yeah, that must be like super scary. Because those are giant bones. It's just this pile of massive skulls. Luffy, of course, totally undeterred, jumps over to one of the giant swords. There were many soldiers in the castle. Loki slew over 100 stout warriors that day. Wow. Castle should be sealed and left untouched afterwards. You know, last chapter I talked a whole lot, or I guess I was talking with my friend as well about this, but I was like, I don't think Loki's gonna be that bad because a on like a meta storytelling level, We were just told about his reign of terror, his using wild animals to attack, blah, blah, blah. We were just told about it. We weren't shown it in some extensive flashback or anything. So I was like, there's no way that the story we're being told is the complete story. And I just kind of felt like there's going to be some sort of hidden motive, and this idea that King Harold wanted to open Elbaf to the world, and so maybe a contrasting theme with Wayno. Here, the actual correct move is to leave Elbaf isolationist and sealed. Maybe King Harold actually was trying to work out a deal with the world government, just like a deal had been offered to Loki in the last chapter. And of course, the idea of Elbaf allying with the world government is much, much more distasteful even than Loki's violence on land or whatever, that he was trying to protect something from an even greater evil. Something like that. I still think maybe that's the case, but it's certainly not going to be so easy to say, oh, Loki, he's actually like a good guy. He killed like hundreds and hundreds of giants, and we love the giants. Look at how big this skull is. It's even got horns like oars. Ah, the warriors with the blood of ancient giants. There are no longer any purebloods, but some have traces of it in their history. King Harold himself is very large and mighty. Okay, so that is the species Ors is. Okay. We already kind of had a sense that that's the kind of thing that Ors was. It's interesting that there are no longer any purebloods. Because I think Ors was probably a pureblood ancient giant. And so is Lil Ors Jr., I think, just based on appearance. Does Road know that Little Ors Jr. is dead, and that's why he's saying that? I haven't seen that visage in years. Whoa, there he is, King Harold. Yeah, we're definitely getting a flashback. I mean, and it seems like it goes without saying, because almost every major arc in One Piece also has a major flashback in the middle of it. But there's no way that Oda comes up with a design that fucking metal and then just lets you see it in like a portrait instead of seeing him in action. The man who loved peace and attempted to bridge the gap between Elbaf and the rest of the world. The greatest king in the history of Elbaf, they say. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying it. I think there's more to this tale. Loves peace. What, like Obama winning the Peace Prize? I don't buy it. There's another story happening here. The scarring on his head is where he ripped out his horns, the mark of his ancient giant blood. To him, ancient giants were a reminder of our era of war. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. Okay. I like this one little isolated panel of an ancient giant ravaging war in silhouette. It's a good image. It's intense, man. It's really cool because it's like, you know, we're introduced to the giants. They're jolly, they're funny, they're silly, they're fun. And more in this arc, we're kind of getting those things reinforced. We're seeing the fun social life of the giants. And then, yeah, it's like, how do you square that exactly with their in-universe reputation of like, oh, those guys are basically a walking natural disaster. They just wipe out any civilization that they come in contact with. They're the scariest pirates in the world. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, like this is starting to kind of like piece together a more coherent and complex portrait of them. The era of war. I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it is as straightforward as it seems. That they used to be so violent and that was bad, and King Harold marked the end of that, and then Loki is just a return type that is detestable. His Majesty's death was a shock to all, but it was hardest upon the other son of King Harold. Whoa, Hadrudin! Oh shit, Hadrudin is Loki's brother? Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So Hadrudin, I think, is going to become a major player, which is kind of, I think, kind of interesting. Because it's like, you know, he's been around. He was in Dressrosa. He's done some stuff for the Straw Hats. One of the captains of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Pretty big deal. But it's not like I think we were ever given reason to think he would become like a major character in the plot. He more just kind of has like his role or whatever. So this is quite the little twist. So Hadrian is the older brother with a different mother. Hadrian's mother could not be queen. She was from a different giant nation. Big Mom. No, that would not make any sense. But this is interesting too. All giants. Do you humans not wage war over land and resources as well? Yeah, it's funny. Even Zoro kind of having a moment of humility where he's like, oh, wait, yeah. Giants from all other areas will tarnish the blood of Elbaf. Hmm. I like Nami. The facade is gone. She's back to being cruel to Roto as he kind of deserves. Whoa. Okay. Just a brief little flashback to the forming of the new giant pirates. Roto bullied. Understandably. He's definitely kind of inherently a little creep. They become buds. You can draw sea charts. It's funny that him and Nami are the ones that have the most like rapport, both positive and negative. Different, a complex rapport. When she is also, the navigator of the Straw Hats, somebody that from a very, very early age had a talent for making sea charts. Not so different. Unlike me, he is truly an honest and straightforward man, despite being unable to live in the castle with his father. Seeing the way his mother was tormented, he withstood all of that pain and said, I want to unify all of giant kind. Be the man who will be the king of all giants. Okay. So this is like a whole little thing as well. Just this whole like culture of Elbaf, the culture of the giants, manifesting in a few different ways. Should they remain isolationist or should they merge with the world in some capacity? Should they remain peaceful to whatever extent they can, or is there value in their old warlike ways? And what is their relationship with the other locales of giants from the other countries that produce giants, which I didn't really even know existed. I guess quite racistly assumed that all giants were from Elbaf. There's all these kind of cultural issues that are swirling around this arc where I feel like we're starting to see like a very complex three-dimensional alignment chart of all the kind of relevant players in terms of where they stand on each of these issues. And it's interesting because like I don't know where it's gonna end up. It's not that one position is to me clearly like what the series is messaging as morally correct yet, which is different from a lot of other One Piece arcs. Normally it's pretty clear, what's rotten in this country, what is rotten in the state of Wano, what is rotten in the state of Dressrosa. Here it's kind of like, there's this chillin', but there's scars. There's deep scars in this country that we don't fully understand, and let alone know how they ought to be resolved. But I imagine there's going to be some sort of subversion here. There's some X factor that we're missing that makes it so that it's much, much riskier to abandon isolationism. It's much riskier to embrace peace. Something like that. I think there's still going to be some sort of X factor, probably revealed in the substantial flashback, that as much as we start trending in our opinions one way or the other, they're going to get inverted. It's going to be interesting. Can be reasonable after all, kind of boring. Some giants are knocked out over here. Okay, so these are the guards. But now we cut back to the fight between Loki and the ambassadors. Can't move. Doesn't change our question. Member of the common rabble receiving the chance to join the ranks of gods is a miracle one can only dream of. We are offering that miracle now. She's got these insane big boots. I love that even characters like this, who occupy the most evil power in the entire One Piece world. I would argue. Blackbeard, he's kind of a dick, but I think he's more respectable than the world government. They're, the origin of so much evil in this series. And yet the big villainous factors, these scary evil people, still have pretty goofy powers. that's a critical component of One Piece, I think. He never really got too edgy with the powers, with the attacks. That sort of stuff is saved for very specific aspects of people's powers to make them badass or to make them seem deadly. And the default is just kind of fun, interesting things that make you curious and confused and excited to see more. Like frickin' Katakiri in the Big Mom arc, I think, is the perfect example that he looked so badass and so intimidating, and then he was the Mochi Mochi man. That sort of fun will never end. Okay, so she's doing all sorts of weird stuff. Using these arrows. She's like a vector human, like Accelerator from Railgun. There's a mid-2000s anime reference for all you other boomers. Your foot's gonna accelerate to kick my right cheek. After I've turned the other way, you'll give me an uppercut with that fist of yours. Thanks for the heads up. Those arrows are the confirmed path of my very future, a declaration of unavoidable violence, but it is possible for me to change course. Very interesting. So these are definitely like devil fruit powers or something. It's not like, oh, this is just the final form of Haki. It makes no sense. Haki is all about predicting your opponent's moves, not relaying information about your own moves. But it does seem to also kind of like just this idea of like conveying your intent and reading other people's intents, and then like the commitment to doing something somehow maybe providing more strength. It seems that because she's making this vow to do XYZ, one predicts that the attacks are all the more powerful. That seems to maybe fit into like a greater paradigm of Haki, and I don't know. It's interesting. Ask again, Loki. Will you join the Holy Knights? Hell no, moron. And so it happens, as the arrows predict. Interesting. Because, Imu also used arrows, black arrows. And these arrows have like a very manga-esque feeling. Like they seem to occupy a layer of reality that is more about like indications on the storyboard. Like Oda drawing the first rough storyboards of this chapter would probably put arrows in, because in sketches it's much harder to convey that sort of motion. And then here, this like dashed arrow, as it hits Loki's face and then continues, looks like so like manga magazine indicator-esque, right? Like, am I crazy? Is that not an arrow that looks very similar to the arrow that is like next chapter I guess we'll see. We can look at the end of the chapter and see. But I don't know. It's like very Is One Piece ultimately going to be a battle between manga and cartoons? Because Gear 5 is so cartoony, And this also has like a cartooniness. It has, but it's like different too. It's more about direction and constraints and conveyance rather than just freedom and surprise and laughter. It's like it's the battle between the finished products and the tools for creation. I don't know, man. It's interesting. Loki getting the shit beat out of him for real, though. This again, I'm like, there's no way this guy isn't gonna end up being a sympathetic character. It makes no sense to me to show A guy, the what ultimately is one of the big villains of the arc, just getting the shit beaten out of him. That doesn't seem correct. Alright. Blam, 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 blam. Ooh, so this Shanks's brother, perhaps, has a different sword than Shanks, I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know. I'm still kind of like, why did my friend say GG? Is it because it's Shanks's brother, or is it kind of like GG, we were wrong, go next? Because it's actually Shanks, and it's like Shanks either undercover or gone evil, or he was always undercover and he's always been evil. I don't like any of those things. I think it's just his brother. But the sword looks like similar. I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah. It's his brother. Nice, cool design. I like that he also has the luscious flowing red locks, but in this kind of Roman patrician kind of style. He looks pretty badass. Let's change tactics. Contact Marijois. Sick of all these useless people. I'd hoped we'd be able to settle this much more cleanly. He'd rather die than join us. Is this some religious thing? So yeah, he's the son of St. Garling. People had already speculated that Shanks was that guy's kid. I can't even remember why, but that was like a pretty commonly accepted theory. So none of this is too surprising to me. Yeah, okay. Conquering the New World long ago will be brought under the command of the world government once and for all. See, I think, yeah, it's going to be something where it's like Loki was a dick, but this is what he was trying to prevent. Harold did a lot of good stuff, but he also wanted Elbaf to be a nation state of the world government, which is bad. And this is the true evil, and Loki is like a third faction. There's still a lot to be done here, but there's still not a whole ton of like players involved, which is interesting. I feel like there's still going to be another thing. And where I speculate it lies is in some unfathomable treasure, unfathomably powerful relic or something that exists on the third layer. We still have to get up to that third layer. I'm so excited for the third layer. Because right now it's like this arc, it's building up its pieces. I think it's going to be a fairly long arc. I think we're going to get a major flashback. We're going to tackle all of these issues that we've talked about and more. And we're going to end with some big climactic battles. And it's like on the good guy side, we've got a lot of people. We got the entire Straw Hat crew. We got all of the friendly giants, who are many of them very battle ready. We got Hadrogen, who might end up fighting Loki or something. Who knows? And then it's like, who do they got to fight? Loki, who's like Agent of Chaos, might end up being more sympathetic. Probably will still fight against our comrades, though. We got to see his crazy devil fruit power in action. Oh yeah, so Gunko confirmed to have the arrow fruit, by the way. But yeah, Loki definitely will be an antagonist, at least for most of the arc. There's no way that they're like, yeah, he's a super controversial figure. Everybody hates him here. We don't know why he did the things he did. And he's got this insanely powerful legendary devil fruit. But he's just going to fight against the bad guys. That doesn't really convey strength in the way that they like to do. So yeah, it's like, who else do the good guys have to fight? Just these two. So I think this Let's Change Tactics Contact Marijois is going to be bringing in a lot of other world government fuckers. And I think this also makes sense because, I don't even know if we're going to get an arc that's like raid on Marijois. I just don't know if that's the direction the story is going. So they've set up all these like holy knights and all of these other like secret defenses and top secret weaponry and stuff. Even if we did have an arc in Marijois, it's probably like there's too much. Like, feasibly, given how well they protected, say, Ina's lobby, that sort of protection should be quintupled at Marijois, including like CP -1 and stuff, and all of these holy knights that obviously are all badass in their own rights and stuff. So it's like, even if they were gonna do that, they still should get some of it out of the way now. So I think this is gonna be largely a world government comes to raid Elbaf in full scale. And that's the major conflict. That also gives us some time for just like adventures within Elbath, because now they're waiting for more soldiers to come from Marijois. I think, yeah, I'm kind of seeing how this might play out. I just want to see the top layer, man. It's like, I see where it's going to play out, but there's still multiple X factors. Like, why is Loki doing what he's doing? There's got to be some sort of ancient power dwelling here. Things like that. And we still need to answer the question of Louis Arnaud. Why is it scary to spend too long in Elbath? But yeah, good stuff. Let's look forward to next week. We're on a roll. I don't want to jinx it, but we're all gas, no breaks lately. Not, I never resent Oda for taking a break. I don't care if I'm reading the finale of One Piece at age 50. We'll get there eventually, but it is exciting when every week I can look forward to one of these. Okay, see you next time.